Good morning. This is Kevin from the Center for Responsible Tourism Singapore, or CRTS, and I'm at the Raffles Landing site. Where is he? Okay, that's Sir Stamford Raffles statue and a bunch of secondary school students on the school trip. Today I want to talk about climate adaptation. Why is climate adaptation in tourism necessary? Why should we even be talking about this topic? So climate adaptation refers to doing things that enable us to get used to the new realities of climate change. You may have heard of climate change mitigation, but slightly less often have heard of climate change adaptation. So they are two quite different, but not mutually exclusive. Yeah, we shouldn't see them as separate. Mitigation and adaptation should be complementary. So climate adaptation in tourism, we are talking about helping communities deal with the new and harsh realities of climate change. Communities lose resources. Communities discover that the living conditions become different, harder as climate change gets worse and worse. Communities discover that they have to find new ways of coping. Sometimes it is complicated. Communities of people may not necessarily find it straightforward to adapt or to live with the changing conditions posed by worsening climate change. So that's why adaptation in tourism is necessary. That's why we're having this conversation, or that's why this conversation is important in many places. We have to adapt. Businesses and communities have to learn to live with a new changing environment, because as climate change worsens, a lot of things change. Someone famously said, right? Climate change, everything changes. Yeah. So not only communities but businesses discover that their businesses, their operations will also have to change as supply chain disruptions happen, as raw materials to make what they need to make become scarcer, as resources become scarcer, as new business conditions are put in place by governments, by regulators in different places. So we all have to learn to live with. That's why we have this term climate adaptation. We adapt. We may no longer sell exactly the same product as we did 10, 15, 20 years ago, making them in exactly the same way, in exactly the same form. So as this monster called climate change becomes worse, our business operations will also have to change. Yep. So that's a very short 3-4 minute sharing on adaptation. Climate adaptation is necessary in tourism, but it is something that is not necessarily straightforward, because adaptation means sacrificing, learning to let go of old ways of doing things. And quite a lot of times when we learn to adapt to climate change, this also means we are turning to things that we are not quite used to. So that's the complications behind climate adaptation. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to my few minutes of ranting. I'll see you again in another video. Thank you.